Hi everyone, a very warm welcome from me here at Oak House Journals. Between posting my videos, I put up a few pictures from time to time on Instagram, and one of my subscribers asked me if she could have a closer look at these little dangles that I made the other day. It was just a little bit of random playtime for me, using up some scraps. But I promised Maud that I would do a video. I was actually going to do a private video for Maud, but then when I was doing it, I actually thought, well, maybe one or two of you might like to have a look as well. So I thought I would do a little video showing these tiny scraps that I used up. And I hope you're not going to get too dizzy as I try and show these closer. Basically, what I was doing the other day, I was cutting out some frames on my Big Shot die cut machine. And what I found was when I cut out this size, it left me with a piece of card like that, and I quite liked it because, as you can see, it's got an embossed image round the deckled edge. So all I did was I backed two of these together. I mean, this is cardstock, but it's quite lightweight cardstock. So I backed two together just with a little bit of arc glitter glue, and I snipped the corners to make a tag shape and punched a hole. I didn't punch the hole until afterwards, but then I started using up all my tiny little bits of scraps of lace, of silk, even of linen. And basically on my work desk off to one side, I have this little ceramic pot that was made for me, and I just keep in here just odd little bits of trims and lace snippets, little bits that I can use to make tabs and whatever. And as you can see in here, I've got some of this daisy trim. Now, this trim was gifted to me by Leanne. Thank you so much, Leanne. And I've used these predominantly when I was making these little snippets because they were absolutely perfect. These were a bit bigger because basically the size of this is 2 centimetres by 1 centimetre. So these are itty bitty little tags. And I actually thought I would use them as tag toppers. To go at the top of tags where you normally would put a dangle with a piece of lace or something like that. I thought, well, these would look cute there. Other bits of lace, something like that, I would just do the tiniest of snippet with that. I tended to go for something more delicate, so even more delicate than this little bit of lace in my pot. I'm just trying to see what I've got here. I've used a lot of it up, but say something like this, that little piece would make 4 or 5 of these little dangles, and I just chop a bit off and layer it. As you can see, there's some tiny bits of linen where I've done some stamping on some linen, and I've just thrown those on, little snippets of sari silk, just to use up whatever was in my pot. And predominantly to get this gorgeous colour. Look at this. Now, this is the most exquisite trim. The colours are amazing. And again, my lovely Leanne, my lovely friend in Australia, sent me some of this a while ago. And look, if you carefully tease it, it comes apart and you get something almost akin to the Avril art twines, if you've seen those, with little flag trims. So if you haven't got this trim, which I suspect most of us won't have it, I know it's like hen's teeth for Leanne to get hold of in Australia. So you know, we won't stand a chance here in the UK to get hold of something like this. The only other thing I could suggest is either little bits of threads left over from your sari silk, or if you can get your hands on some Avril twine, then that would be perfect to use. But you don't have to buy. I would suggest you, when I first made some of these, for example, this one, I just used some little brown threads. It's not going to focus for you. Some little green threads that I had from some sewing that I was doing. In the centre of the little flowers, I've just put a little half pearl, and all I did with those to make sure they stuck more was to put a little bit of the Beacon 3-in-1 glue, which is the same stuff as Fabri-Tac, but I also find that the art glitter glue will work just as well. Both the Beacon glue and the art glitter glue dry clear, and it's like a belt and braces really on the adhesive side of the half pearls, because they don't always stick, so that just makes sure they're super hyper robust. What else have I used? Here I've layered up one of those little daisies with a tiny piece of green floral trim, which I had in my stash. Most of them have got those daisies on. This one had, I didn't have a daisy, and I layered it up with some snug hug seam binding, just a snippet of that, and some of the linen fabric, some of that gorgeous trim from Leanne, and I just put a pearl on. I didn't put a daisy on that one. What else have I done? Oh, this one I didn't put a daisy on either. I just put a button on, and all I did was just put a dab of Beacon 3-in-1 glue, put my snippet down, and I tended to layer up 2 or 3 snippets of lace, and then put my little bit of trim on top. This one, as you can see, has got a little bit of a Tim Holtz book designer paper in the background. I just had a play really. This one was one of the tags that came in my chapter 1 inspiration box that I did a video of the other day, and I love the shape of the tag, and I just wanted to see what it would look like layered up with 3 daisies on. So really simple, not worth a tutorial, I'm afraid, Maud, but I mean, if you're desperate for a tutorial, then I will do one. But basically it's just a dab of Beacon 3-in-1 glue, and then just layer up whatever trims and lace snippets you've got. I have to admit, these were very tiny, and so I did end up using a pair of pointed nose tweezers to help me position my laces and my little flowers, and also for putting on those half pearls, because they seem to scoot straight across the room at every opportunity. This one actually, and there is another one but I can't see it immediately, is slightly different. I used, and I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick that up, it looks, probably will come across to you looking a bit more fluffy than the others. Well, I used a tiny piece of the super fine Sanwa Japanese paper that I have. So you see, nothing goes to waste, and I was quite pleased with how these turned out. So thank you for asking to see those, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing them. So there, if I can hold that up. Super cute, super easy to do. What I also thought I would share to try and make this video a bit more interesting for you is some tags that I've been making. As you can see, I've got oodles here. I've had a bit of a tag fest, and all of it, well, these 3 here, the inspiration came from the lovely Penelope Marshall, because if you saw the beautiful rack journal that she sent me, you will have seen in the back of it was this gorgeous tag that she made for me. Now I believe that Pen got her inspiration from Wendy, of Wendy's journal adventures, but I got my inspiration from Pen, from seeing this, and it just goes to show that we all give and share our inspiration by sharing. So it's just amazing, and that blows me away. But what I particularly liked about it was this flap here, and as you can see, Pen has put a beautiful pressed flower in there, in that faux slide, and I just love that idea. So sorry Pen, I nicked your idea, and this is kind of my take on it. So first off, I did this one. Now the background here was again using up the leftover piece of the napkin that I tried to do some encaustic work on, some wax work, but it was quite bright for a background. So what I did was I covered it over with some vellum, and then I had a piece of this die cut left over, which is part of a Tim Holtz die cut, and it's of a wall, and I just thought it picked up the blues. And at the bottom is layered up lace and some sari silk, some little tiny flowers, and then some dangles at the top there, some of the home dyed chiffon sari. And then this is one of my vintage slides that I just covered in the leftover napkin, put a little piece of lace at the top there, and these two little pink flowers are chopped out of a piece of lace, and again half pearls, and then this just flips up like so, for a little secret journaling spot, or just for interest really. But for my hinge, I've used a piece of lace, and I've just taken it over the front, and then the back is just an old computer card. So that was kind of my take on Pen's inspiration. And then, because I was enjoying it so much and I still had some napkin left, I decided to make this one. So here we've just got some lace tied with some pink crochet cotton actually, and some more delicate lace here, again gifted to me by Leanne. Thank you, darling. Two little pearl dangles up there. Again, I've used an offcut from some lace and used it at the bottom there, and then layered up some sari silk. It's the same sari silk as this, believe it or not. It's just when I home dyed it, some came out quite light, which is this, and then further down, obviously where I'd got more of my dye on it, it came out darker. So there's a couple of layers here, and then I just put again the edge of a piece of pink ribbon, what would be the selvage edge, in the center there to cover my stitching, and put 3 half pearls. Again, this is a take on a slide, but this is not a vintage slide like this one. As I said, I covered this one. This was one I've got a die cut for, and it comes out a lot larger, so I covered it and stamped it and put some more of the napkin that I use for the background, and trimmed it with some lace at the top, and then did some layering here with some lace and some threads. And then this one just flips open. There is a couple of magnets there, as you can probably hear, holding it shut. And then I just did a scrap of paper in there, just roughly torn, as my journaling spot. And again, it's backed onto one of those computer cards. And then this was another one I made, again using that encaustic covered napkin. just the odd scraps. Here I just layered up some lace. I put some book page behind because I didn't have enough of this napkin to completely cover the tag. So I just put some book page behind my lace. This is my seam binding. And then I've just done some layering with some more lace here, a dangle, some very sorry looking super crinkled seam binding. This is a tea card, and again I've just layered it onto some cardstock, some decorative paper, and then just stitched my tea card on the top. And there's my book page on the back from some botanical book. Don't ask me which one it was. It's just some botanical book, random book in my stash. And again, a little dangle that I've made here, and threaded it through my knotted seam binding with a jump ring. So those are the three that I got inspired by pen to make, using up my encaustic napkins. And then these are the ones that I've been making, well, yesterday and a little bit the day before. And basically it was to use up these. If you remember, when I was doing my encaustic work, I had a go at using some just bog standard, let me get one for you, bog standard tea bags that I use here at home, and sandwiching images inside the tea bag and then waxing them to see how they came out. And these are some of the ones left over. This one I backed onto some cardboard, and you'll see why in a moment. And then these are just a few of the ones left over from what I did before. But what I did find was that I can get a much nicer, crisper image after I've waxed them and put them, once I've put them inside the tea bag and then added the wax and let it dry. These were sat on my surface in my craft room for a good 2 weeks now, maybe. And what I found was, if I went over the top of it again, once it had dried, with Ranger Multimatte Medium, it made the top image a lot more crisp again. So, for example, as you can see on this one's kind of got a milky colour to it. I don't know if you can see it. Now, if I went over the top of this now with Ranger Multimatte Medium, it would make that image a lot more crisp, and she would come out looking a bit more like that. So that was just a little trick that I found. So I was quite pleased with that. So I'm just clearing my decks here a little bit. So all I did with this is another one. Actually, what I also played around with was I just put some images that I printed off the internet between the tea bag paper and use the Ranger Multimatte Medium. So this one has no wax on it at all. It is just Ranger Multimatte Medium, and I really liked how they came out as well. There's another one there that I printed off. This one's not backed, and actually I've only used the Ranger Multimatte Medium on the front of that one, so you can see how loose my tea bag is there. For this one I put Ranger Multimatte Medium on the back as well, so I will be doing that with this one to completely seal it, and it will make it firmer. At the moment it wants to curl, as you can see. And this is another one that I did, just another image that I printed off and put between the tea bag, inside the tea bag. And again, I need to put Ranger Multimatte Medium on the back. So I actually liked how these came out. They came out crisper for some reason. So when I had these left over, obviously I wanted to use them up, so I decided I would make some tags using some wallpaper that I found recently. If you're here in the UK, I got it from B&Q, and it's just some pale green pastel wallpaper. with like a white floral image on the top, and I loved it, so I grabbed I grabbed a sample, and I've just been having a play with it. So this is one of the tags that they're all very much the same theme, because as you can see here, these are the tags that I've covered. Now I've just used some scrap card out of my stash. This is a good one, actually. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. I had some overprints of some music that I printed onto cardstock. Oh, probably 3 Christmases back, to make a floral wreath out of, curling it into cones. So I had loads of this left over, and I just wanted to use it up. So all I did was I covered it with the wallpaper on the front, and this again was some very thin cardstock, as you will see from the frames that I was cutting. This is some very thin cardstock. So I've been using it to back my tags. So I think I cut out about 10 of these. So as you can see, I've got 4 left to play with. So I better get busy today. So all of the tags have got that basic backing to them, and then the wallpaper, and then I've just done various bits of collaging on the top. So this one is one where, again, you can see my tea bag in there, and I've just used one of those little frames, and this is one of the tea bags. I've backed it with some vintage document and a little bit of washi, but that slips into that frame there, and I've put some acetate in the frame as well and stitched it. And any stitching I did, I stitched on the top tag and left the back clear, just because that's how the mood took me on this occasion. And then here I've just done some basic collaging with some vintage documents and tied some seam binding through. So that was that one. Oh, I've done some collaging on the back, like so. So that was one tag. This was another one along the same lines. Again, there's my tea bag. This time I decided I wanted some sari silk. And here I've just used a vintage document, a little bit of lace, which if you saw in my pot, there we go, it was a tiny, tiny piece of this piece of lace. So all I did was I cut out the rows, and then what was left over I've just used at the bottom here. So there's a double layer of lace along the bottom, then some sari silk, a piece of this from the top, some eyelash trim zigzagged across it, and then the offcut of that piece of lace I've just used along the bottom. And again, there's my tea bag inside a frame, and some collaging on the back. So that's my second one. And again, here we are again. As I say, all very much a muchness. This is just some ivory sari silk. This is a bit of a vintage document. It was a scrap, so I backed it with a little bit of the, I don't know if you can see there, the wallpaper. Put a little dangle. And this time, my image, I just glued it onto a bit of the green scrap and stitched it on, made it look a bit like a tag. I did think about doing a tuck spot in it, but I thought, no, can't be bothered to do that today. So it's just glued on there, but there's a bit of more of the vintage document and some washi and Tim Holtz paper there and there. And that's the collage on the back of this one. And again, no stitching on the back. This one a little bit different. This one, I put a vintage tea card in a glassine envelope, or a glassine bag rather. I stitched around the glassine bag and then cut a thumb hole and then glued it on my page on top of my layering. And then again, another one of those roses, but this time it's on top of another snippet of lace. There's a bus ticket behind there, half pearl, and I tried to pick up the purples if I can get that out, in here, in my little bits of detail there. And this time I've just used some Hug Snug seam binding, and that's my collaging on the back. As I say, all very basic stuff. This one, there's that lace, and at the bottom here, I've just layered this up basically. This was a tag that I didn't do any collaging on the top. This was a piece out of one of the T-card collection books. So I just chopped it off and left the information of about what the plant is down below, and then just did a little bit of layering with some washi there, and again at the top there. This time I've tried to pick up the ivory and the green in all of this, in my trims at the top, and then the roses here, the white of this lace to pick up the white in that. So that was my thinking behind this tag. And again, basic collaging on the back there. Whoops, just obviously didn't. When I put my washi down, like most of you, I tend to put it down with a dab of art glitter glue, just to help, because not all the washi has good long-term adherence, and I'd obviously missed a little bit there. So there we go with that one. And again, the same idea here. With the page out of the T-card collection book. This time I've zigzagged round the image, which I've backed onto the green. I've trapped some lace behind it, washi at the bottom with a bit of vintage document, a little bit of washi at the top there, so it kind of takes the eye up, if you will. I've used a darker washi because the leaves are a darker green, and then I've just used the lace trim here. I've put some lace in with my seam binding just to marry it all up, and a tiny little bit of collaging on the back. And I had this lying around on my desk, and it's been annoying me for days, and I didn't want to this is the lazy person I am. I didn't want to put it away with my other die cuts, which means walking all of 2 steps to my cupboard, getting a little file folder out and popping it in. So it's been on my desk and annoying me now for a couple of days. So I thought, right, I'm sticking that on there. It's going on there. So there you go, a bit of home truth about me. I'm lazy. So anyway, ladies, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you liked my very basic tags and my using up of scraps and bits and bobs here. Maud, thank you very much for asking me. I hope I've shown these in enough detail for you. I mean, some of these, like this one, will go at the top there on that one. That's what I'm going to use them for. That's my intention, to use them as little tag toppers. So thank you so much, everybody, for bearing with me as always. Have an amazing day, and I hope you find time for some crafting. Take care, everybody. Bye bye for now.